The first and foremost people that God will allow you in your life to guide you to possess the promises in your life are the godly people. And here in this passage you see how Saul is getting rid of all the godly people, not only in his own life, in the whole nation. And the story goes like this. David is running from his father-in-law, who is King Saul. Because King Saul knew that God has chosen David to become the next king. And he wants to somehow kill David. So now David is running for life. As he's running for life, somehow he goes to the temple in chapter 21. He rides his horse to the temple and he sees the high priest there, Ahimelech. The Ahimelech comes out and David says, hey, I'm going on king's business. He didn't want to reveal that he's running away from King Saul. He said, I'm going on king's business. Do you got something? And the high priest asked him, hey, where are the other soldiers? You are running all by yourself on king's business. He said, no, the matter is so secret. I can't take anyone. I have to go all by myself. Do you have any food? He asked the high priest. But the high priest said, I don't have any food for somebody like you or your soldiers to eat. All I have is the holy bread in the presence of the Lord. None of this is accident. I'll come to you. So the priest offer King David a holy bread. Kind of represents the communion that you are taking in this New Testament days. He offered the holy bread and David took the holy bread. The priest went and prayed for him, gave him the blessing, and David left the city. He's running for life. And later on there was a person called Doeg. He is not a Jew. Doeg the Edomite, he was there, and this fellow noticed everything that was happening. And guess what? He went and spoke to King Saul and said, King Saul, I saw what happened. The chief priest in the temple is helping David. They all with David, your enemy. So Saul got so angry. Saul called this high priest and he said, soldiers, kill this priest, he commanded. Oh man, and the soldiers, they did not take any step forward. That is very big for them in those days because they absolutely obeyed the king. They submitted themselves completely to the king. Doesn't matter if it's wrong or right thing to do. What king said they did. But even the soldiers did not dare to touch the priest of the Lord. The Bible, the way it mentioned there, it didn't even say just the priest. It says the priest of the Lord. Everyone is afraid. How can you touch a priest of the Lord? He is the one that teaches the principles, the oracles of God to the nation. He prays for us and he leads us into God's ways, and you cannot touch him. And then the king turns and he says, Doeg, you go kill them. You know what Doeg did? He did not just kill one priest. He killed 85 priests, their family, their kids, even their animals. In the olden days when they're killing animals and kids, why would they do it? To wipe them off from the nation. That there should not be any trace of any descendants of any kind of that people group. For that purpose, they would even kill their animals. That's how furious they were. And this fellow represents a demonic act in this place in the Bible, in this passage, because it is not just, he did not do it in just an anger, a human anger. He was taken over by the evil spirit to completely kill and bring judgment upon the priest. And you may ask me, why? Is a question. You know the story of Eli, how Eli and their sons, two sons, mainly how they treated God's people, how they stole the resources from the temple, how they treated the women, took advantage of the women who came to the temple, never gave God his glory, and there was a judgment on the house of Eli. These are the descendants, this high priest Ahimelech and his family are descendants from the house of Eli. So the judgment of God was there. But here, it wasn't the Jewish people who brought the judgment. It was Doeg and a fellow who's outside the Jewish community came in and he killed the priest of the Lord. But the special thing in the story is this. Saul didn't know that these are people that he needs in his own life that will help him possess God's promise. He just thought them as enemies. He was hurt. He didn't like them. So he told that I want to get rid of the priest and the prophets. Saul did that every time. And not only Saul, there was few other kings in the book of Kings and Samuel and Chronicles you read, where they were so angry because of the priest and the prophets never really told them the things that they wanted to hear, so they killed them. When the prophets came and confronted them, you see, you need to know one thing in your life: never kill, remove godly people in your life, even if they say things that you wish not to hear. They are people that God has released in your life to take you to possess the promises of God. Are you with me? That's the foremost people you need to have if you want to move forward in your life. And that's what Saul didn't know. But later on in the story, what really fascinated me is one fellow escapes from the hand of Saul. And I don't think so it's an accident. God helped one priest escape. And that priest is called Abiathar. Verse 20 in 1 Samuel chapter 21 verse 20. Now one of the sons of Amalek, the son of Etub, named Abiathar, escaped and fled after David. And Abiathar told David that Saul had killed the Lord's priest. You see that term, how it's explained? Saul killed the Lord's priest. I am alone. I alone escaped from his hand. Verse 23, David is saying, stay with me, do not fear, for he who seeks my life seeks your life too. But with me you shall be safe. And from that time onwards, David had Abiathar as the priest along with him. But I don't think so it was an act of Abiathar or David. It was an act of God, because David had 400 men who will fight with him, but he never had a godly men to go with him. And God felt, I am removing the priest from Israel. The judgment is on the house of Eli. And Saul is making this decision. So Saul, all the godly people are removed from the life of Saul. He has no idea about the importance of godly people in a person's life. So he removed prophets. He removed the priest. And he's all alone by himself. He's so confused. But he's saying to David, I don't want you to be like that, David. I have spared one person just for you, the Abiathar, the young priest. He will journey with you. And from that time onwards, every time in the chapter 23, David would say, hey, I am fighting against Philistines. Abiathar, go bring the ephod, meaning the robe. Let's put on that prayer robe and worship the Lord and ask God for his will, for his plan. Every time Abiathar was there, he helped David inquire what the Lord wanted to do before the battles. That's amazing. You know, there's one other passage I want to take you, and this is so cool. It's in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 14, 35 onwards. Then Saul built an altar to the Lord. This was the first altar that he built to the Lord. Verse 36. Now Saul said, let us go down after the Philistines by night and plunder them until the morning light, and let us not leave a man of them. And you know the people, his captains, everyone, what they said? And they all said, Amen. Yeah. Look what they said. They said, do whatever seems good to you. Are you having people in your life that will always say to you, do whatever seems good to you? Run away from those people. You know, our flesh will always like to stay with those kind of people who will always be in agreement with every decision we make. Have you given your spouse the freedom to let you know, honey, I don't think like this is the right decision? How many of you have given that permission? Especially in an Indian culture, if you're a husband, you have given your wife the permission to come to you and let you know, this is not right, this is something wrong, we need to fix this. Many times we don't do that. But here, Saul was surrounded with people who always told him, do whatever seems good to you. But you know, guess what? The same verse. Then the priest said, let us draw near to God here. That's why you need a priest. It was the priest who took a bold step before the king and said, King, Don't always do the things that pleases you, and don't be listening to people, your captains, your assistants, that are your ministers, that are saying to you, do whatever seems good to you. I know you're a king, but I'm a priest, and God has put me to journey with you to let you know, let us draw near to God here. Let us seek the Lord here, because Saul was in confusion. Should I go against Philistines? Should we fight them? What is a strategy? How can we do this? In spite of in that situation, in spite of all those confusion, people saying, do it. One priest, the priest of the Lord, are brave enough to say, let's seek the Lord at this place. It's not like let's go down there. I think it represents also geographical location, but I think it represents your situation in life. This is the place. This is the crossroad that we are struggling, and this is the place. Let us draw near to God here. Verse 37. So Saul asked counsel of God. Where did that go? That idea go, Saul, before? But this time he did obey the priest. Shall I go down after the Philistines? Will you deliver them into the hand of Israel? But he did not answer him that day. You see how God did not answer. Sometimes, the problem with people is, we go to God to ask whether should I be doing this or not, only when we think it is a troublesome thing, when we don't like it. When we like something, we never go to God and ask God, should I have this or no? The first people that you need in your life is the priest of the Lord, who will guide you in the direction, in the ways of God. Don't ever become like Saul, who is killing godly people out of his life because he is now a warrior. He knows how to battle. He knows how to make strategic plans. If I could just sow this one seed today, that's good enough for me. Because the rest, God will reveal it to you.